Do you ever find yourself stuck in your own thoughts, thinking over and over about the same things? Maybe you finally get a quiet moment to yourself, but instead of feeling calm, your mind keeps racing. Your brain just won't stop and it stresses you out. To distract yourself, you might listen to music, a podcast, or hang out with friends. You might even turn to less healthy ways to quiet your mind. But no matter what, the thoughts keep coming back. Or maybe there's something you've been wanting to start for a long time. You might have an idea for a project, like starting a YouTube channel, writing a book, or even launching a small business you've been dreaming about. You think about it all the time, weeks, months, maybe even years, but you haven't taken that first step. You've thought through every little detail, but you haven't actually done anything yet. This is what we call overthinking. Overthinking happens when you spend too much time stuck in your thoughts instead of taking action. It can be a huge problem because it can stop you from reaching your goals and even affect your mental and physical well-being. In simple terms, overthinking means you keep thinking about the same thing over and over. This might include worrying about things that have already happened or stressing about things that haven't happened yet. You might relive past events, constantly play conversations over in your head, or imagine all the ways something could go wrong in the future. This cycle of overthinking can leave you feeling tired, anxious, and stressed. In this video, we're going to dive deeper into overthinking. We'll talk about how to spot it, what causes it, and how it affects you. Most importantly, we'll give you some simple steps to help you stop overthinking and get back to living your life. Signs of overthinking. So, how do you know if you're overthinking? Here are some signs to watch for. You can't stop thinking about something. If one thought or problem keeps running through your mind and you can't let it go, that's a sign of overthinking. You feel tense and can't relax. Overthinking can make your body feel tense, and it's hard to calm down or feel at peace. Focus on things you can't control. If you spend a lot of time worrying about things that are out of your control, that's another sign. You keep replaying past events. Do you often replay conversations or situations in your head, thinking about what you could have done or said differently? You overplan for the future. You might spend a lot of time thinking about all the things that could go wrong and make detailed plans for things that haven't even happened yet. You second-guess yourself. Do you keep changing your mind, going back and forth between different options without making a decision? You imagine the worst-case scenario. Overthinkers often picture the worst thing that could happen, even if it's unlikely. If you recognize yourself in these signs, then you might be overthinking. Over time, this can make you feel mentally exhausted, anxious, and less happy. Why do we overthink? Overthinking often happens because we feel uncertain. Our brains are designed to solve problems and protect us from danger. In the past, our ancestors had to think carefully to survive. They needed to avoid wild animals and other dangers. But now, we don't face the same life-threatening situations, even though our brains still work the same way. This is why many of us are naturally wired to overthink, even when it's not helpful. Another reason we overthink is because society encourages it. Think about it. In school, we're praised for getting good grades, which are a sign of intelligence. And intelligence is often linked with thinking. The more we think, the more we're rewarded, whether it's in school or at work. So, we've been trained to believe that thinking a lot is a good thing. For example, when you're taking a math test, you're supposed to show your work. The more you think through the problem, the better the result, right? But sometimes this way of thinking turns into overthinking. Instead of taking action, we get stuck thinking about what could go wrong. Over time, this habit of overthinking can make it hard to move forward. Types of overthinking. In the 1960s, a psychologist named Aaron Beck developed a type of therapy called cognitive behavioral therapy. One of the goals of cognitive behavioral therapy is to help people recognize negative thinking patterns, including overthinking. Here are some common types of overthinking. Number 1, all or nothing thinking. This is when you see things in extremes, like either black or white, with no gray area in between. For example, you might think that if you don't succeed completely, you're a total failure. But life is rarely that simple. Most situations aren't all good or all bad, and understanding that can help reduce overthinking. Number 2, catastrophizing. This type of overthinking involves expecting the worst to happen. For For example, if you're late to work, you might immediately think you'll get fired and lose everything. But in reality, being late once won't ruin your life. Learning to calm these extreme thoughts can help you relax. Number 3, overgeneralizing. This happens when you judge a new situation based on what happened in the past. For example, if something went wrong before, you might assume it will always go wrong in the future. But the truth is, each situation is different, and anything can happen. How to stop overthinking. Now that you know the signs and causes of overthinking, how do you stop it? Here are some simple steps you can take to break the cycle of overthinking. Number 1, be aware. The first step to stopping overthinking is noticing when you're doing it. Start paying attention to your thoughts. If you find yourself stuck in a thought loop, acknowledge it. The more aware you are, the easier it will be to take control of your thoughts. Number 2, stay present. Overthinking often happens when we get lost in our own minds. Try to bring yourself back to the present moment by focusing on what's happening around you. You can spend time outside, take a break from your phone, or try grounding exercises. For example, name 5 things you can see, hear, or feel in the moment to bring yourself back to reality. Number 3, look at the big picture. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Often, the things we overthink are much smaller than we realize. Taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture can help you see that some things are not worth all the stress. Number 4, take action. Overthinking happens when you stay in your head instead of taking action. One way to stop it is to just start doing something, even if it's a small step. Breaking down a big task into smaller parts can help make it feel less overwhelming. Once you start, you'll often find it easier to keep going. Number 5, don't be afraid to fail. Perfectionism is a major cause of overthinking. We often don't take action because we're afraid of making mistakes. But remember, doing something imperfectly is better than doing nothing at all. Failing and learning from mistakes is the quickest way to improve. Overthinking can be a huge roadblock in life, but it doesn't have to be. By being aware of your thoughts, staying present, and taking small actions, you can break the cycle and stop overthinking. Remember, the goal is to take control of your mind and stop letting your thoughts hold you back. What's one step you're going to take today to stop overthinking? Let us know in the comments, and feel free to share any tips or tricks that have worked for you. See you next time.